Welcome back, everyone, to our next session. So this topic today is about biodistricts, and when we imagine what if farmers, citizens, tourist operators, and associations, and also public authorities would really decide to focus on agroecology, then we maybe can think of biodistricts that represent an innovative approach for sustainable, integrated, and participatory territorial development. And to understand this idea and see the impact, we will have a look on different examples from Italy and France today. And yeah, we will also get to know which networking processes are in place on a European level, so that each of you can also contribute and take what you need out of this process. And of course, to enhance the discussion, we always have our famous Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen. So please feel free to ask your questions already during the presentations. Whenever you have a question that is not directly to the topic and you want to just share it with others, put it in the chat on the right side of your screen. And of course, if you would like to speak up to our panelists or speakers, it is possible to raise your hand. There's also an option. I think it is in the bottom of your screen to raise the hand. And when I see that you raise the hand, I can give you the permission to speak so that you can share your thoughts with us. And to start right now, I would like to make a little trial. I would like to launch a poll among the audience, just to have a bit an idea of how much of local food you are actually consuming. So I will give you this poll right now, and I would ask you to fill it and to make a yeah, good. I see it. It starts. Great. So I would give you about a minute to fill it, and yeah, actually one answer would be good if you give one answer each. Yeah, this is a good question. 250 kilometers, is it local or not? I just thought there must be one range, and I was thinking of this. And of course, we can discuss everything in each direction. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think it is about 38% that receive more than 50% out of a local range, when we want to say that local is in a range of 250 kilometers. And yeah, 1/3 of you, it's about 1/3. Yeah, 1/3 of you is getting 1/3 of their produce out of a range of 250 kilometers. And of course, nobody gets all, because this is, I would say, probably impossible. Depends on your diet, of course. But thank you so much for this result, just to know about your diet. And I think this is a good way to start now the discussion. And I would like to introduce our speakers. I'm delighted to welcome Roberto Stucchi Prinetti. He's the manager of the Biodistretto del Chianti. And I think we have to wait a bit for him, but it's okay. And I'm also pleased to see Samuel Bonvoisin. He's a consultant and trainer in permaculture, and today he represents the Association Biovallé de la Vallée de Drôme. And I'm very grateful to have Salvatore Basile. He's the president of the International Network of Ecoregions and the manager of Cilento Bio District. And I would now ask Samuel to go ahead and share your presentation with us. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ribana. Presentation. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. So my name is Samuel Bonvoisin. I'm an agronomist and also administrator of the Biovallé Association, which carries the Biovallé Territory Project in the Drôme department in the southeast of France. I'm sorry, my English is a little rusty. I don't use it on a daily basis, so thank you for being a little patient. The Biovallé area is one of the French leaders in the development of organic farming, with around 30% of our land covered by organic farming. It aims today to be a pilot area for sustainable development, where agriculture is, of course, fully integrated, and with a political will to associate research with development and to support alternative projects. I will give you a little information about what is Biovallé. It's a local dynamic. It was born 40 years ago on work on water challenges about quality and ecosystems, and also for tourism. And it has been able to gather a lot of the different actors of the territory: producers, consumers, businesses, local cooperatives, support structures, and also a huge work of local elected officials. Throughout its history, the Biovallé has received financial support. We will talk about this if you agree, from Europe, but also from the French states recently, and also from Rhône-Alpes region. Each time we have responded to calls for projects around territorial innovation. So I was saying it was born around the local water policy construction of the River Drôme during the 1980s, and it was the starting point of the project in response for the challenge of maintaining the water quality for tourism and preservation of ecosystems. Today, the Biovallé faces new challenges, and I will most of all speak about two among them. One is a new challenges around climate change and agriculture, and the other one is about democratic transition. First of all, about climate change and resilience of our territory. In spite of a diversified and supporting local economic network, we have a strong food dependency. You can see here that the territory only consumes 20% of its food, and we buy food from everywhere in the world. And every new year comes with more water restrictions, also drought episodes and rising temperatures combined with agricultural practices, leaving the soil bare, accelerates erosion phenomena. We also face, and I will talk about this at the end of my presentation. Democratic challenge: how to manage the Biovallé project while ensuring a balance of forces between the actors of the territory. So the observation is that agroecology practices, as taught and transmitted for the 40 years of our project, seem insufficient to meet the challenges today. So we must adapt, innovate, and find another way and a new way to produce food and to find resilience for our territory. And we think that the first step is to establish a clear hierarchy of priorities for building climate resilient agriculture. We observe that for the moment, and not only in Biovallé, but everywhere, local as well as national decision makers are exploring a multitude of leads, but without investing sufficient resources in each one to have a real impact. So we rely on different frameworks, such as this permanent scale created by the Australian farmer I.N.N.E.R. For example, this scale invites us to lay the foundations of a new era for our biodistrict. First of all, developing holistic water management, and then agroforestry practices, then soil conservation, agriculture approaches, and finally seed selection and adaptation. So we see that it's a totally new way of thinking the development, which was based on organic farming. So we have to think a completely new strategy to develop resilience in agriculture. We've been experimenting this kind of approach only for 1 year, and especially through a tree planting program throughout the territory. Yeah, so these are some illustrations of what we can do in such integrated systems, agricultural systems in our territory. So I will now talk about the issues at the democratic level, which is also another big issue. So since 2012, we have now a French association, which is trying to pilot the territory project with multiple actors in it. And this poses many government problems, and particularly when it comes to elected officials to share power with people from civil society. So we are currently experimenting with a new social organization based on shared governance and collective intelligence. We think it will take several more years for this democratic transition to succeed. Thank you for taking the time to hear this presentation.
Thank you so much, Samuel. I see that Roberto has visited us. Now he seems to be gone again. Roberto, could you show us if you are here? Okay. I think it's also okay to hand over to Salvatore right now.
Yes.
Okay, so the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So hello everybody. I will share the screen. So first of all, I prefer start with a short definition of a biodistrict or organic district or ecoregions in the world, we have a lot of different words, but for the same thing, for a territory where we have a formal agreement in the local community, in particular of farmers, organic farmers, with citizens, public authorities, and other local actors for the sustainable management of local resources based on the principles and the model of organic farming, in order to boost the economic and the socio-cultural development of their territory. So this is the definition, but finally we have a lot of different definitions, concepts at local level. Actually, until now, we have 48 organic districts operating in Europe. And the countries where they have been implemented are Italy, of course, Portugal, France, Austria, Switzerland, Spain. In other countries, the constitution process is under development. So the first biodistrict was developed in Italy, in Cilento, and I show in the second slide the organic districts milestones. So first of all, in 2004, was established in Cilento, in Campania region, in the south of Italy, in a very particular place where we have the sea, the hills, the mountains, a very high biodiversity. And in this place was developed the organic district guideline, the first guideline in Europe. The second milestone is the year 2014, where the movement, the international movement of the organic districts. Was established the International Network of Ecoregions, I.N.N.E.R, after the development of the international guidelines and the development of a toolkit for the creation and the management of organic districts. The third milestone is the year 2020, with the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding for the creation of the Global Alliance for the Organic Districts. This agreement was signed in Rome, in Italy, at the Italian Ministry of Agriculture, immediately before the pandemic, COVID-19. So, we had the opportunity after to have only online meeting, unfortunately. But we realized with Gaud a very interesting summit where we discovered a lot of other territories involved in the ecological transition. So now it's time to put together and coordinate all the experiences, territorial organic experiences already developed, in order to involve other governments, other organizations, other territories, to create a critical mass to make change possible. This is the aim of I.N.N.E.R, of the International Network of Ecoregion, but of course is the aim of GAUD too, of the Global Alliance for the Organic Districts. So everything started in 2013 because a delegation of Biovallé, very large delegation with 50 representatives from the Drôme Valley arrived in Cilento, where in 2004 was developed the biodistrict, the first biodistrict. So this delegation were a lot of public administrators, farmers, and a big energy. So finally, we decided after a visit of the biodistrict Cilento in Drôme Valley to make an agreement for starting with the construction of a network at European level and after at international level for the development of this kind of model of sustainable development of the territory, that is the biodistrict. Here you can see some picture at the moment of the signature, of course, the visit in France, the visit in Italy of the delegation of the Biovallé. In 2019 was held in Portugal the first World Congress of Organic Districts with about 200 representatives from all Europe. And in this occasion, we made a specific agreement for the promotion of ecoregions and globally important agricultural heritage systems in the Portuguese-speaking countries, in Brazil, in Cape Verde, in Guinea-Bissau, Angola, Sao Tome and Principe. And was very interesting for us the last year make another very large summit with the participation of about 1,000 representatives from the 5 continents. And after the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding in Rome and after the creation of the Global Alliance for the Organic Districts, we decided to have this meeting online. Of course, in October, the pandemic and the restriction of the pandemic for traveling were very, very strong as now. So, and finally, we had the opportunity to discover about 1,300 organic territories involved in these strategies in all the 5 continents. And we published these 5 books. And inside, of course, you can find the history of Biovallé, the best practices from Cilento Biodistrict, but from many and many other territories. Very interesting experiences from little villages of Africa, for example, or from Asia. You imagine that only Algoa have about 200 biodistricts associated. In Philippines, about 700. So we have a very strong alliance with the participation of I.N.N.E.R, Organics International, of I.N.N.E, Organics Europe, and Regenerational International, with members in all the different continents. In these books, and you can download, of course, these books from the website of the Alliance, www.gaod.online. So the success of the Global Alliance for the Organic District Summit was, among other aspects, due to the organization of the GAOD work groups discussion. So you can see how is working GAOD. We have a board, of course. I am one of the 2 co-presidents. Another one is the mayor of Goesan in South Korea. And after we have 7 work groups on the tourism, on the integrated management of the organic districts, on the social issues, on the communication, on the youth and organic agriculture, food processing, distribution, regenerative agriculture. And we have the same organization in I.N.N.E.R, in the International Association, and the same organization in the biodistricts associated to I.N.N.E.R and to the GAUD and to the other members of the alliance. So we have a common strategy of work, and we can use this for improve our knowledge at the territorial level and for the development of the organic districts. Here you have a slide about the first biodistrict in Italy, in Cilento. This is an area where the Mediterranean diet was codified by Ansel Keys. There are 39 municipalities involved in, with 400 organic farms. And we are in a national park, a protected area, the largest of Italy. So about the construction of the sustainable communities, the participatory and inclusive community of an organic district where we have not only farmers, public administrators, and consumers, but touristic operators, disadvantaged people, and so on, acts to the territory with a virtuous governance that decides from the citizens' level. The approach is the bottom-up approach, of course, to shift toward a real local, real sustainable, and a real healthy food system. So the organic districts are the practical demonstration that is possible to shift from a sectorial to a territorial approach to the ecological transition and the sustainable development. The people don't live in sectors, don't live in agriculture, economic, environmental, social, but they live in places, on territories. So I.N.N.E.R is the international network of ecoregion is committed to the implementation of a coherent strategic framework of the strategies for the development of organic districts. The aims are that to improve the quality of life of residents in rural areas, to increase the power of attraction of rural areas, to increase the employment opportunities, to promote the active engagement of youth, to promote and improve the European and international cooperation of rural areas. The impacts at the social and economic and environmental level, it's very high. For example, at social level, you can imagine that we have the improvement of the quality of the life. We have more attractive territories where there is the well-stay of the community. At economical level, for example, we have with the green public procurement, the development of organic public canteens in the schools with a very short food chain at the local level. And at environmental level, for example, we have the, of course, the improvement of the air, soil, and the water quality. But we have ecological infrastructure too, and the more sustainable waste management, the adoption of renewable energy solutions. I remember in Biovallé, they are very involved on this topic. About the studies and the research, you can imagine that I am in Cilento now, in Italy, in the biodistrict of Cilento, and before the pandemic, bus with 50 people arrived all the days with representatives from the main important universities, research centers at European level for study the model of the Cilento biodistrict. And we have a lot of publication and research. Here you can see the most important, I consider these studies very important for a better understanding of the model. For example, the last published by the Frontiers in the Sustainable and Food Systems is on the designing of a monitoring tool for the ecoregion. In which way we can understand if a territory is really a biodistrict, or is a biodistrict only on the paper? We can have answers using this tool, very, very important. This tool was developed by Cesare Zanasi of the University of Bologna, together with me and other scientists, and it's part of the toolkit for the development, for the creation and the management of the organic districts. But of course, after you can see directly on the presentation on all the links to these researches. About the possibilities of financing the organic districts, in Europe, of course, we have the common agriculture policy second pillar that can help to have more efforts to promote collective actions in the organic districts. This model of integrated rural development, the organic district, is particularly suitable to access different sources of public support. Of course, we have the possibility to use the cohesion policy funds and so on. So now I close my presentation with an invitation. We have the 15th of April, a conference online, unfortunately, for the definition and for the dissemination of the new tools to support the creation and integrated management of organic districts. So I thank you for the attention, and of course I invite you to participate in this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Salvatore. Very impressive. Yeah, great to have you with us right now, Roberto. Yeah, if you are ready, we would really like to hear your presentation. And afterwards, we will step into our discussion. So please go on asking your questions.
Yes, thank you. And I had some technical problems, so I hope you can hear me now. I had to connect with my phone because for some reason, my computer is not cooperating on this. It worked perfectly up till today, and now it can't. The only problem with that is I cannot show you the pictures that I had ready to show you, which is a pity, but you could get a better vision of where we are and what we're about. So basically, Biodistretto del Chianti has existed since 2016, even though there was a previous experience in 2012 and 13 in two of the comuni that are part. This is an area between Florence and Siena in central Italy, mostly hillside. It's about 100,000 hectares in size, and it's quite well known mostly as a wine producing area. So the Biodistretto was formed by a fairly large number of organic producers of wine, biologico, certified, that got together to work together as a group and to develop as Salvatore said, an agreement with the local administrations. That's one of the essential parts of the Biodistretto. We are based on the I.N.N.E.R guidelines. The I.N.N.E.R is Associazione Italiana Agricoltura Biologica, so the main association in Italy who actually started the Biodistretti, one of the original ones. And we have about 80 partners now, mostly wine producers, because most of the agriculture in Chianti is wine, olive oil, and not a whole lot of other farming currently. And it's one of the themes that we are addressing as Biodistretto. So we've worked together so for 5 years now, and we've worked with different goals. One, of course, is to expand organic production to all of Chianti. We are currently at about 33% of the total surface certified organic, which is a pretty good percentage, but we are hoping to, it's growing rapidly. The larger growers are also joining finally, at least in the first steps of what we call substitution organic. But we want to also grow in quality. For us, organic is not just a certification, it goes beyond that. So many of us are doing additional certifications and follow, agroecological practices and everything. So those things are important, and we are working to, again, to expand in those directions too. There's two areas that are fairly critical at this moment. Chianti, Chianti has an interesting history. Like a lot of the parts of central Italy has in the countryside has been massively abandoned. So 3/4 of the population left in the 50s and 60s. A lot of the farming back then, which was still very traditional, promiscuous farming into small units, very almost like medieval in size, with sharecropping into the 50s, disappeared within a decade. And so we went from almost a medieval style of farming up till Second World War in a period of 50 years to modern, and now what I even call postmodern farming, where you get all kinds of types of farming next to each other. But again, mostly what redeveloped the area was wine production and tourism, wine tourism. So those two things brought economy back to the area, but also brought major changes, some of which were quite disastrous in terms of farming practices. So very aggressive farming practices, mostly concentrated in the middle areas, so abandoning the higher elevations, which was difficult farming on terraces, and the lower elevations, which is because in the farm, the valley floors, there was not much economics in growing grains. So now we're like organic wine producers realize that we need something else in the area, and we're working, and the Biodistretto is very much at the forefront of this, to reintroduce and redevelop different crops, different type of crops, rediversify agriculture, bring back food production in the area. And there is a challenge, but also a great opportunity because of all the land that was abandoned. The other big challenge, of course, in the area is the forest. Almost half of the land is forested. And in fact, a large part of the land went back to forest. Forest has almost doubled in the last 50 years because of how much land was abandoned. And so all of these are opportunities to bring back. And we're looking at the directions, of course, of integrative agriculture, agroforestry, and these all the things that we've heard here too are we're looking at possibilities to bring back life, agriculture, and food production in Chianti, which would be a great opportunity. We're working with the comuni, with the local administrations. Right now, we're trying we're in the process of achieving recognition from the regional government, because now the Toscana region has also approved a law regulating the distretti biologici, organic districts by districts. And so we are working on a territorial economic plan to be approved from the regione. So we can sit on the tables where financing is decided and hopefully bring back resources here. Our way is to work on all levels. So we like to bring together the very small farmers, which need help right now, but also the larger growers, which have no interest in the marginal land, but are quite supportive in the idea of reintroducing different types of crops in the area. So it's a work in progress, and I think it's something that's really growing and that we hope can bring redevelopment in the area according to very positive and agroecological line of development. So I would maybe stop here, and then we can, if there's questions or anything else, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. I think this is really a holistic approach that you did, and I'm really curious, and also our audience, about how do we get there actually. So yeah, I would like to know, what would you suggest to people that are interested in turning their region into a biodistrict? Where do they have to start? So please, who feels comfortable?
So if you want, I can try to answer. So first of all, as I said in my presentation, it's important, very important, the bottom-up approach. So finally, a municipality can decide to start a process, but after they have to promote public forum, workshop, give information to the citizens about what is an organic district. You imagine that in Cilento, we started in 2004, about 50 forums and public meetings were held before the establishment, before the official creation. And the same, I remember when I was in Tuscany for the creation of the biodistrict, in particular in the actual biodistrict of Chianti is the result of a fusion of more territories, more biodistricts. But I remember that it was very interesting when the mayor put the table of the council, of the municipality council, in the main square of the city. For communicate what was happening, which kind of strategic plan was started in that moment with the creation of the organic district.
Thank you. Would anyone like to add something on this? Otherwise, I will ask.
Well, I can confirm that even in Chianti, of course, it is a bottom-up approach. It's the organic producers who, the farmers who organized and came together, farmers and consultants, to start this. And so, and then we involved the administrations, but starting from the bottom. So that's very important. The other thing is that I think to have a biodistrict, you need in my opinion, you need a good number of organic growers. So that has to be the backbone. It's very important to have citizens involved, other categories, but that there is a good backbone of organic farming is very important.
Thank you. Yeah, please go ahead.
I think for Biovallé, it was a meeting between a politic impulse at the very beginning, but it was not put on randomly. It was the results of the observation of the population coming in the region from during the 1960s and 1970s. Were really willing to involve themselves, building the future of their territories, and they were really interested in ecological problems and challenges. So it was like an opportunity to meet between these two movements. And trying to build something together, and the river Drôme was just the point, the reaching point of this energy.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for answering already the questions that are in the Q&A too. Great. So I think there's one other question left. What are the success factors to change the consumers' habits to buy more ecological food? I think this is also a bit related to culture. And as you are coming from Italy and France, which is in my perception, I'm not sure if it's really true, but countries that are maybe a bit more relying on local food and on culture. And I don't know if there are different answers to this. Referring to the country, but what is your perception? How can you bring consumers to buy more local?
It's important to have on board from the beginning the consumers. So the bottom-up approach is that. So in the public forum, in the meeting, you have to involve all the categories, but of course, you have to involve the consumers as the first stakeholder of the territory. If you lost some representatives, after you have against your project that category. So it's important to have on board all the stakeholders of the territory.
Yeah, I think we've been thinking for the past 20 years in terms of convincing people to act differently or to think differently. And as a permaculture teacher, I would say that you better put your energy where the living is already present, where the people are already willing to do things. And there is a way. There are people willing to consume differently. So if you help them, if you help this part of the population, then you will indirectly help the other people to who are not doing it yet to go further and to try, and it will help all the territory. So building from a small amount of people, even if there are very few people willing to begin, and then it will grow and you will not consume your energy in it.
Thank you. I was also curious about the Biovallé. You have very high goals concerning the public procurement of food. And I was wondering, is it really a politically binding fixed time frame to come up with these 80% of organic food in the public kitchens?
Well, it's more. I think it's important to have goals, and to it helps people to know where we are going. Now we know that it's really these goals are really high, and we also know that when you begin, the first percentages are really are easier to reach than the other ones, but it's more the direction we put with this. And we know now that it's also not really only on what we will do and what the territory will look like in the future, but also how we will reach this point, and about the democratic system between us, and the joy we can have in our territory, trying to reach this goal together. So I think I will. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, it's more like this, more. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there was also a law on biodistricts that was released in Italy. And yeah, this is something, how it really gets binding in a political way. So I would really learn about why and how this happened. And yeah, this is crazy, I would say, somehow. Yeah, it's great.
So, I don't know if Roberto, Samuel will tell something, but I can only introduce. You imagine that in Italy we have a national law of 2017 that introduced the biodistricts or organic districts in the food district category. So a good approach, no? Because of course we are working for change the food systems, but with a very bad application of this law. Millions of euros only for new territories that submitted the new proposal only for take that money. No money for the real biodistricts, the real organic districts. So was a very bad application of that law. It's very interesting that we have now the law on organic agriculture in process of approval by the Italian parliament. That's different. There is a specific article on the biodistrict, and we hope that now we have a new government. Finally, we can have from the parliament this present until the summertime. At regional level, and of course Roberto can provide you more information than me, the Tuscany made a new regulation for specific for a new law for the organic districts, the same for Latium region, for Sardinia and for Liguria region. But please, Roberto, if you have more information on the law of Tuscany, I am interested to, to listen. Thanks.
Yeah, actually, yes, I'll say something briefly about the law. The law in Tuscany is a pretty reasonably good law. We participated with other biodistretti in the formation of the law. So, but it's just an instrument, and it really matters what will happen. As Salvatore said, for example, with the national law, there was a bunch of money put in some semi-non-existing districts, and for example, we never got any public money. We're completely self-funded, for example. But I wanted to also touch on some of the, so it's something I think we have to build, and we have to build bottom up and make sure that we give the right priorities and influence the political side. I wanted to answer some of the issues that were on the questions. So, for example, and this is true for us, I mean, for Biodistretto Chianti, relationship with non-organic farmers, well, we have relationships, yes. We require for a regular membership to be organic and certified organic, but then one can be a sustaining member even if they're not organic. So our relationship is we are sort of giving the good example, and we are hoping to attract them into an organic method which works better. Another one was about the different organic practices. Okay, we required organic certification based on European laws, the minimum level for a membership. On the other hand, we're also promoting what we call true organic, advanced organic agroecological practices. So we also do seminars promoting things like permaculture, regenerative agriculture. So we try to push the envelope and advance to more and learn, because I think there are a lot of different techniques and developments, and we need all of them, and I don't think anybody has the perfect recipe, and I think there's also space for different approaches, and that also has to do with biodiversity, also in how you can have side by side the more conventional organic and also the more advanced really agroecological and really multi-crop type of entity, and there's a space for both, and both are important. There's still a question about the impact of demographic. I'm just going to touch it because Chianti is quite peculiar. It was, as I said, massively abandoned in the 50s and 60s, repopulated mostly from people from other countries or other parts of Italy in the 70s and 80s. Not many involved in farming at all, so it was more like touristy type thing. Now there's more interest in farming, but there is issue of like land availability for younger people who would want to get into farming. And that's something we're addressing. We don't have the answer, but we think we should, you know, trying to come together with large entities and with local administrations and to try and promote and make space for new people to get into farming and revitalize the area.
Thank you. There was also a question about are some biodistricts using the leader options for funding, but also for the bottom-up approach? Yeah.
Yes, all the biodistricts participate in different local action groups, of course, in particular for the tourism. The tourism is one of the most important activity that can give the possibility to peoples from urban areas to better understand the nature, the different approach that we have in the organic districts for the tourism is in very high consideration by the local action groups. I know about 100 different projects, at least in Italy, that involve organic districts in this kind of topic, tourism and the valorization of traditional knowledge of the rural communities.
If you, there was a question of Marina about the relationships with the non-organic farmers, and I would say something about this. We've been experimenting since 5 years, around 5 years in Biovallé, the fact of not only thinking about organic, because we know that organic is quite a point of tensions between the people in the society and especially between the farmers. And we've observed that when we support, for example, agroforestry, we are really able to make organic and non-organic farmers work together. And it's really important for the territory, dynamic, social dynamic. So now we are more, we have this attention in speaking about organic farming, but also speaking about conservation, soil agriculture, regenerative agriculture, agroforestry, and other kinds of agriculture to help farmers work together in the territory.
And Ribana, if I can add, it's very important, the involvement of conventional farmers. I am in Cilento Biodistrict now. So you imagine that we have thousands and thousands farmers that are formally conventional because are family farmers that can pay for a certification that they don't use because normally the production is for the family, for the friends. So if we don't involve the family farmers without certification to the construction of the organic district is impossible. We need the farms that use agroecology best practices, no certified organic farms, and so on. we can't discriminate, no, create a different consideration of the people inside an organic district. All are farmers for us. So we have to speak in the organic district with all, with all the farmers and other categories, of course.
Thank you. And one question was how the pandemic measures in progress will be able to affect aim and perspectives of biodistricts.
So I introduced it before these books. We have one book dedicated to the COVID-19 and organic districts with best practices and experiences from the 5 continents. That's very important because we can understand that now all the people know why we can't have a bad, a wrong food system in our territory. Because what happened in China finally have consequences in Europe, and the same. We have one planet and one Earth, so it's clear that now for all, and not only for the stakeholders of the organic districts, for the experts of organic farming. It's a tragedy, the pandemic, but now the people know that it's time to act for change.
Thank you. Would you like to add on that, Roberto?
No, actually not much. I think I agree with that. It's you know, it's a problem and opportunity, but it's hard to know exactly. Obviously, there's more pressure to implement changes which were already overdue, and the pandemic, I think, just has accelerated the issue of work for young people. The issue of, in our area, for example, a lot of agriculture is large scale in viticulture, and it employs temporary work only. So it's with the idea of bringing new crops in is to get more year-round work, and work that's for local people, which is lacking. To create also managerial opportunities for young people that would like to farm the land but need a little bit of support initially, and on and on and on. So there's lots to be done, and I think we need to do as much as possible to make sure that all the money that's going to be spent in the next period, all the agricultural funding, doesn't go as it usually is only to the big farm entities, most of which still use very old style farming that has a very, very heavy environmental impact. So that's a real challenge. It's really a big political fight, and I think we need to get together all the forces to make sure we get a little bit more in the right direction.
Thank you. I would like to know a bit more about the practice when we look at the private sector that is always there. How are they part of this biodistrict? Because I think the law and the aims that you formulate cannot really be applied to the private sector. For example, when we have schools where we have a catering that is not from the public side but from the private sector, maybe we cannot force them to do things in the organic way. At least I know that in Germany this is a problem, that sometimes it then depends on prices. Is this affordable for families or not? So my topic is the private sector, but also the equity behind the prices, that organic food sometimes is much more expensive. What are your experiences on this?
If I may, just to continue, since I was speaking, I think that we tend not to, as in our biodistrict, we don't work so much to enforce rules or laws. It's more like, obviously we get involved in that, but the idea is that we can show that it works better. For example, I'm not so sure that, and I don't think it's true anymore, that organic necessarily costs more to produce. It depends, it really depends. Already in my field, in wine, you can produce pretty much the same cost with very good farming practices and with some advantages in yield, because we have better, better managed soil actually means that you can have higher yields in difficult drought years. And this we see it over and over and over, where you actually can almost reduce, equivalent cost and higher yields because of good organic and agroecological practices. And so I think we can win a lot of ground by showing how it works better, not necessarily by requiring that anybody buys organic or local by law. I don't think that's the way to go.
I confirm. I confirm. Sorry, Samuel, please.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. It's the same. I am a farmer too, and I can tell you that the price is the same because we don't use much expensive inputs from petrol, from much expensive ingredients. So, of course, we don't use pesticide, chemical pesticide, and other products that are much expensive. Of course, we have low production, but finally, if you see, no, we have a little small production, but we have the possibility to stay in a place where we can take a fruit from a plant and eat. So the well stay and the realization of the people that works in the organic districts is very important. And in particular with the short food chain, if I am a farmer and if I go in a restaurant near my farm for provide the restaurants with my products, I have the cost of the transport. I have the possibility to have a different relationship with other categories of the organic districts. And of course, I think that really in the organic districts, we can have organic food at a very similar price. I remember in Biovallé, the Claret de Die, the fantastic wine, organic wine, was very cheaper because really the people, the producers are very involved in the project.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I would say in France, I observed that we have a phenomenon, which is that biodistricts and more generally territories, regions where there is since 10, 15, 20 years local policies that anticipate to the problems we have are much more prepared when national policies come and force the private sector to change their practices. We have, for example, the EGalim. It's a national program on changing the food in the restaurants and in the schools and everything. And in biodistricts such as Biovallé, it's easier to adapt to the new laws because we already have local supportive programs to help the private sector to change their practices before the law comes and force people to change. So I think it's really interesting seeing that with a 5 or 10 years of anticipation, we can be more effective when it comes compulsory to do things, because we are aware that it's where we are going, all of us. So yeah, I think it's really interesting to see that it's better for the private sector in general.
Thank you. There's another question from our audience, and it's addressed to Roberto. So the person asked, do you know of something like woofing, woofing, but in a paid version where people are paid, and this person is a young person, lived in cities all his life or her life, but wants to work on the land and go into producing food. And yeah, the person seeks for a job that doesn't require experience. So this would be, yeah, very interesting. Do you have any answers to that?
Well, this is an area where actually there is even work for, and it's sometimes hard to find people to do the work. So, and I'm not saying it's easy to find a job, but there are people who can find a job in agriculture, even now under pandemic. So, but having said that, it's also, of course, it would be better if we stopped with financing with public money what is very unsustainable agriculture, which is most of the large agribusiness today survives only because of massive amount of public funding from Europe or from the regions. So that's like one thing that we need to change, because there is this myth that, it's a small farming who needs the funding and everything. Sure, we could use it, but the one that survives only because of public funding is the very, very large agribusiness. And it's the one that today gets most of the money. In Italy, at least 80% of the money goes to 20% of the large farms.
Yeah, so if there are other suggestions, please post it in the chat if you like, from the audience. I would now start another topic. And I was thinking about, yeah, you were talking a lot about diversification, that this brings more jobs and brings more stability and resilience, of course, into the region. And how actually is decided which are these crops that are diversifying the landscape? How do you think about the diet, or what is about the supply and the demand? How is this monitored? How is this decided? What do you know about this?
Yes, so of course, depend from the territory now, because as I said, I am in Cilento. Of course, the Mediterranean diet here is very important. So we have the cultivation of very ancient cultivars, for example, of cereals, of white fig. The same we have a very particular animal production with very local and local approach. So finally is the consumer, the local consumer, that decide which kind of production we have in an organic district, because the relations through consumers and producers are direct, so they don't need intermediation, mediator. So they go in the public forum and can speak directly with the producers, and together they can decide which kind of cultivars, which kind of production they can have.
Okay, great. How exactly does this look like? How often does it take place? What is the structure behind it?
So in particular for the consumers, we have a lot of, Roberto, may you help me, gruppi di acquisto, more consumers together that decide which kind of production they need. And of course, it's important the creation of a local platform, commercial platform, only for the short food chain products. That's very important. We have a lot of cooperatives here in Cilento from young people, and with the very new innovative ideas, with the use without digital divide. They use a lot the new technologies too, and that's very interesting. We have more opportunity for youth, for women, because there is a great possibility to have a new a new approach to this relation through producers and consumers.
Very interesting. And how about Vallée de la Drôme or Biovallé? What is your approach to bring together people and to exchange about how to develop the diversification of crops, for example?
Yeah, I think there are different angles and different strategies, and sometimes it's more like opportunities. For example, there was a really huge change in the importation policy of some lavender. I don't know how to say lavande in English. So it was an opportunity for local farmers to redevelop this lavender production, because it was really difficult for the past 15, 20 years because of the Chinese production, which was concurrencing the French farmers. So they decided to redevelop it and to try to rebuild all the chain. But I think for what we are trying to do at the Biovallé Association, it's more to design what will the territory look like, and especially the climate look like in the 10, 20 years coming, and what can we do now to anticipate of the climate change. So that's one of the big points. So we look in the Mediterranean region and try to find a way to adapt some of the production more in the south, and I think it's a common strategy that a lot of territories have, but we are trying to organize it. And then the other one is about soil preservation, soil conservation. So we are trying to put a higher range of perennial vegetables and trees, in fact, in our culture. So that's why we are supporting agroforestry association, which was created by farmers only 6 years ago, and now there are I think more than 80 or 90 farmers in it, and 5 people. I think they are hiring their 5th technician working in this association to help people, help farmers planting trees and diversify their production with the fruits. So it begins with more vegetable farmers, small farmers, but now also really big farmers and non-organic farmers are planting trees in their fields, also for water management issues. So yeah, I think there are these kind of different angles and strategies.
Amazing, thank you. There was another question to Roberto. You outlined that there are massive amounts of money from the EU, which is not sustainable. How does that fit to your outlines that the prices between conventional and bio or organic are the same? Does do organic peasants receive the same public money or subsidies like the conventional? What is the good solution? So many questions to you. Would you like to?
It's a complex theme, but I would say that from the numbers that I am aware of, organic is underfunded. Certainly in Tuscany and even in Italy, compared to the percentage of organic farming, and we're talking only about certified organic farming, which leaves out the very small farms that Salvatore said sometimes don't certify because it's too much bureaucracy or too expensive or whatever. So, and even in that, so it's underfunded. And when I'm talking about non-sustainable funding is, for example, the huge amount of money that goes towards very large scale animal raising under very poor conditions that it wouldn't survive. As very small margin is basically surviving because of public funding. I wanted to say a positive note about something that from Chianti, in my experience as a driver of the potential for new crops, is tourism. We have a lot of tourism, and there is a big potential market for locally grown produce, grains, legumes, and everything, which are mostly imported now because the only real, let's say, cash crop between brackets is wine and a little bit olive oil. So that's actually, there is an open market and not much being produced. And obviously there's a value of locally produced, linking to the local tradition, history. So that would be an added value, both environmentally and also culturally and for the tourist industry here.
Thank you. So yeah, this would be another question. How important is tourism to really keep up a biodistrict? Is this fundamentally, is it at the heart of getting funded, or what would you say?
Well, in Chianti, it's definitely a major part of the economy. So yes, but not just for bio district, for the economy of Chianti, tourism is fundamental. We are seeing it, of course, this year with no tourism or hardly any tourism has been disastrous from that point of view. On the other hand, the most of the major crop, which is wine, is exported. About 70% is exported. So there's this paradox. And so bringing food back in the area would rebalance this, having more local market, which of course would be helpful in situations like this one of the pandemic. But tourism is very important. And also I think it can be a two-way street where I think a biodistrict could influence the way that tourism, what type of tourism, how it's, the type of people that come. And it's already happening a little bit. We get more slow tourism, biking, walking, people who are more interested in the territory and the culture. So it also brings a elevation of the quality of tourism.
No, the responsible tourism is fundamental. In particular, it's great when in a very little villages of internal areas of south of Italy, for example, you see a lot of tourists that come and ask for organic districts, for organic food. And sometimes you see the people, the local people that ask, why? Because really, I remember that Biovallé made a great work for the dissemination of the soul of the topic of the organic district inside the community. I remember that was one person only for give information to the community of Biovallé. That's important because sometimes really we have a special tourism that arrive from all the different countries that ask for know the ancient people, for learn more about the farming practices and so on. That's great. And for the little villages, little municipality, it's important this exchange of experiences, but of course of soul, of a different approach to the territory. No conventional tourism, but responsible tourism.
Yeah. it's really interesting how tourism is actually not only on the economic point of view, helping a territory to grow up. When you live somewhere and people is coming and it's really giving value to the place you are living because of organic, because of good quality of life and so on, then even if you're not really interested in ecological issues and everything, then it happens that you give yourself, you change the way you think your territory, and then you give value also for this Biovallé and this the district thing. So it's really interesting because tourists are actually helping the people inside the territory to be more conscious of their luck of living there, and then thinking about the Biovallé, and it's a kind of also appropriation of their own local dynamics. So it's really interesting, and I think it's a real strength for this biodistrict.
Thank you so much. What would you suggest for other countries that are looking forward to creating a biodistrict when they are probably not so much a destination for tourism?
But if I can only give you an idea, in Asia, for example, we have a biodistrict very interesting. The topic of this district is from the arms to the farms. For take the young people from the war to the organic farming. So we haven't only the production of food in an organic district. We have the social impact, the different paradigms. So we have really the possibility to create more attractive territories with a big energy, not only for the farmers, but for all the categories inside this community. For that, it's important disseminate this model at world level in all the territories, because clearly it's clear that we have the possibility to create networking at the local level in a global context for change globally the food systems.
Thank you so much. I think I would give you now the option to add anything that you would like to to publish to our audience about how they should go on in creating a biodistrict. If you have anything to add that wasn't mentioned before.
So really, I think that the final message for me is that now it's the time to act. It's important involve all the communities on this way. So the movements of young people, of the youth with Greta and so on started only a few years ago, but made a great work, because finally all the people now know that a wrong food system, after the application of a wrong food system, you have bad territories with a very low quality of the life, of the air, of the soil. So please, now is the moment to act.
Thank you so much. I think We had a lot of networking and a lot of great thoughts that were shared among so many borders of techniques and countries and whatever and languages, and I think it's amazing to see that, and I'm really grateful that you were here today, and also our audience was supporting us and sharing a lot of knowledge. And so I think, yeah, we heard about the conference that you told us, Salvatore, and about many materials on your webpage, and also the other projects of Samuel and Roberto. You have a lot to share on your web pages, and I think everyone will get out of this session with much more knowledge and ideas about how to go on, yeah, with our landscapes and regions and fortunately biodistricts in the near future. So thank you very much for attending this session and for your contributions. And yeah, have a good day. Bye.
Thank you very much. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.